So I'm a Professor of Intensive Care Medicine at UCL. My name's Hugh Montgomery. And there are lots of reasons for being engaged in this, what's generally considered a rather fluffy area of sustainability, and I'd like to convince you that that's not the case. This is hardcore stuff. Students have a very special role in this whole sustainability agenda. Many adults will be saying, well, I'm constrained in my actions by my husband, wife, family, children, job. So students have a bit more bandwidth. They have a bit more honesty and passion to be able to commit to things that are important. Together, as a collective, they have a deal more time. And actually, they have two roles in my view. The first is to apply appropriate pressure, to hold the feet to the flames of people like me and say, why are you not doing enough? Those of you that are in control of the purse strings, why are you not doing these things? But the second is to actually offer assistance, to go in and say, here are things that we could do with you to make this big difference. How can we help? And the very simple things, if I look within my own university buildings, for instance, are that I'm probably the only person who goes around switching off lights. So my trust, I work predominantly for my NHS work at the Whittington Hospital, are very much on side for this. And I talked to my estates lead, and one evening at about 11:30 at night, he took me for a walk around all of the buildings off the ward. So we weren't looking at clinical areas at all. We were horrified actually, and so was he. Radiators left on everywhere, windows open, and we identified over 700 light bulbs in unused offices, corridors, toilets, cupboards, physiotherapy departments, left on all night, and these are normally burning 24/7. But you can also do the big ticket stuff, and that is to engage with your trust boards, with your university, to start saying, how is it that we help you make this difference? I'm sure you'll be given lots of examples. One good one though is just to get going with metering. Start seeing the data. Speak with the trust estates people, the university estates, and say, how do we get to see this readout? Because unless you know what's being used, you can't see how to reduce it. Normally burning 24/7. So do get involved, firstly by applying pressure, but secondly by being active and supportive yourself. We're going to face restricted budgets with increasing demand, and that in itself is not sustainable unless something else changes. Now on top of that, humanity has grown in numbers from a little over 1 billion, maybe 125 years ago, to a stage where we're now adding 1 billion people to the planet's population every 10 to 12 years. Each of those individuals is increasingly using more and more energy, and our demands are also rising inexorably. And this is requiring the burning of a vast amount of fossil fuels. And it's interesting to know that it's only a little over 150 years ago that the first oil well was ever drilled, and that was only 67 feet deep. The first jet aeroplane ticket for commercial use was only sold a little over 50 years ago. It was in my teenage years that the first home computer was sold, and that was in 1973. But we now have well over 4 billion passenger flights taken every year. And if one just looks at light bulb use, 126 new light bulbs are sold every second in Europe alone. Climate change itself threatens human health for a range of different reasons. Now there's a good news component of this. If one looks at low carbon living, it itself is very positively beneficial for health. So substituting active transport, walking and cycling, for driving for instance, and substituting vegetable and fruit for red meat, not only saves on greenhouse gas emissions, but the active part of eating healthily and exercising is good for health. Those are all good reasons for engaging, and I wish you luck in making a difference.